That can't be real, guys. That can't be real. Hi guys. In today's video, we are going to investigate some popular fitness studies and we'll see if they are indeed scientific and accurate. But first, a little announcement. I got lots of hate because of my previous videos when I was critiquing science-based lifting approach. So I was making solid points on isolated studies and yada yada. And the problem is that none of the commenters mentioned these points and somehow tried to critique the points I was making. All the commenters were going like, you are wrong, you're an idiot because you are against science. Guys, I can't stand it. You telling me this is scientific? This is not scientific, this is completely idiotic. I never said that I was going against science. You see, there's a huge difference in critiquing science and being against science. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that training according to isolated studies, and in this video you'll see actually why, is scientific enough. But people say that I am against science. You name your approach science-based, but it doesn't automatically mean that this is science-based. And even if it's science-based, even if it's really scientific, so what? Nobody's able to critique it. Guys, real scientists are always open for critique. And you know who's against? Pseudoscientists. I'm just saying. And I like the most this comment when the guy suggested that I should get back to the gym. What is it? Some sort of insult? And you know what? If you made a video critiquing science-based lifting approach, you'd be cooked by science-based part of a lifting community. But if Jeff Nippard made a video like this, he would be... Wait a minute. He actually did it. He made a video covering some flaws in science-based lifting. And this is the list of studies that for some reason he picked, like those studies. I don't know what was the reason behind it. So first I was like, wait a minute, should we double check it? Should we, like, you know what, analyze those studies, actually read those studies, like 99% of science-based lifting community, and see if they are really scientific and accurate. So let's dive in. But first I'm gonna wear these glasses because they make you smarter. So the first study, they decided to test whether any benefits of doing leg extensions leaning back. And it turned out that, yeah, it's way more beneficial to do leg extensions leaning back rather than... Wait a minute. What the f... You name me a person who does leg extensions sitting like this. Like 90-degree angle? Are you freaking kidding me? There are no even machines that allow you to do leg extensions with 90-degree angle. What the frick is this? Why do you test it? But what I like the most about this study is, look at this, guys. When aiming... I can't freaking read it, it's so freaking funny. So, the case for powerlifters limited by weight class restrictions. What the difference is gonna be? Like 50 grams? No, I don't do leg extensions leaning back because I'm not gonna fit in my weight class. But you squat 300 kilos, man. Say, what's the freaking point? You really don't want to be bothered by limits of your weight class? Guess what? Don't do squats, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press, bent over rows, because these are the mass builders. That's so freaking amusing. The next studies, two studies according to deep versus how they name it, shallow squats. So what is it all about? First of all, you know, there are lots of people that saying that half squats, like half something doesn't count, etc, etc. But I never understood the logic, because you move the weight using your muscles. It's not just because of some magic force, right? But for some reason, it doesn't count. It doesn't count. Guys, any freaking exercise matters, any freaking angle, anything can be beneficial. And when we see the study that, yeah, shallow squats are effective, but they're not as efficient as deep squats. And guess what? Everybody knew it before. We already knew it, that deep squats are better for overall strength, etc, than half squats. It's not even a question. Nobody was bothered by it. The only thing that people were not sure about. Do you have to do half squats if you want to increase your vertical jump? You know, there are lots of track and field athletes, football players, basketball players, they perform this kind of half squats, you know what I'm saying? And many people critique those athletes, but on the other side, we got like people who go like, actually, this is how you jump. You know what? They never measured it. They measured squat jump instead of vertical jump. And it turned out the guys who were squatting deep were able to perform better squat jumps. I mean, isn't it freaking obvious? Because the same freaking pattern. Why didn't you measure vertical jump? So again, this study exists, but no freaking body cares about it. Because it doesn't solve any problem. The next, leg curls. Do you guys do leg curls? If don't, you should, because it's healthy for your knees. But what do you prefer? A classic version or a seated one? And in this study, they tested it and came up with the result that seated version is better for muscle hypertrophy. But the problem is that they were doing one leg curls. You do guys realize that it could be different biomechanics. So why did you measure two different exercises using one leg? It just doesn't make any sense. So probably, you know what, again, freaking controversy. The next study, seated versus standing calf raises. What's better for muscle growth? You know what? I'll tell you this. If you know basic anatomy, you already know the answer. You know what? When you do calf raises with your bended knee, your gastrocnemius not working. The only muscle that works is soleus. But when you do standing calf raises, all the three muscles are working. This is the basic anatomy. But for some reason, they decided to check this out. Why? Why? You should have asked me. So, muscle volume significantly increased, blah blah, except for the gastrocnemius muscles of the seated condition leg. Congratulations, guys. You just proved that basic anatomy works. But, again, why do we need this study? Why? What's the point of this study? The next study, again, about calves. Different foot positioning during calf training to induce portion-specific gastrocnemius muscle hypertrophy, which is contradicting basic anatomy and basic physics, and this is what they came up with. So this seems kind of dubious, right? And you expect that the study should be freaking precise to contradict the freaking basic anatomy and basic physics. But instead, calf raise exercises were performed unilaterally in a pin-loaded, seated, horizontal, freaking less freaking press freaking machine. I guess it works, but this is the worst way to do calf raises. Like Smith machine or standing calf raise machine is way better. Why didn't you choose it? Why did you choose freaking horizontal leg press, unilateral? How freaking awkward it is to do. Why? Again, why? Why do you do this? What for? The next study about range of motion is seated preacher curls. This study is so freaking controversial again. And first of all, look at this photo. Like, yeah, I like this freaking DIY, like garage vibes and something. And when people imagine scientists, like fitness related, some scientific researchers, they probably expected something really advanced and technological. No, look at this. Just a freaking rope and two freaking wooden sticks. That's freaking cool, guys. That's freaking cool. So even looking at this photo, you can clearly see that at first she maintains a little bit different pose, because on half range of motion photo, you can clearly see she's grabbing with her left hand a padding. It's kind of, rotating her shoulder a little bit. So it's a little bit different pose, okay? I mean, does it matter? You know what? Probably doesn't matter that much. But anyway, we're talking about like scientific approach. Anything should be freaking precise. Like different freaking body pose, like holding like this. It's like, rotating her bodies. It's a little bit different, right, guys? So again, it's not freaking accurate. I'm the only guy who actually freaking sees it. So in this research, they measured bicep girth in different areas, like 50 and 70% of length, which again, it contradicts the basic freaking physics and anatomy, because it's like, many people confuse tension on the string. Actually, tension on the string is the same all over the length, but the stiffness of the string is a little bit different. How can you freaking flex your muscle in one part of the muscle more? This doesn't make sense because it's not physically possible, you know what I'm saying? So long story short, in this freaking research, the summarized girth was the same, but full range of motion 1 rep max was better if you trained this lengthened partials. For hypertrophy, it doesn't matter. But what Jeff Nippard said, curling the bottom half is better than curling in the top half on preacher curls, which actually it is true. But from what standpoint, if that what matters. From a hypertrophy standpoint, doesn't matter. And many pencil-necks would refer to this video. So Jeff Nippard said it was a research, but in reality, it doesn't freaking matter. You know what I'm saying? The next study about grip positions and flaring your elbow during rows. Oh my god, bring this girl a bench. Why is she sitting on the floor? So what I found really disturbing is that they measured upper trapezius and middle trapezius activation, but they didn't measure lower trapezius activation. And I was like, why? But instead, they measured upper latissimus versus lower latissimus. Name me, where can I find like lower and upper latissimus dorsi? Like lower latissimus dorsi is not even a thing. It doesn't exist. It's like classic bro science. It's a famous myth. Like I'm gonna hit lower lats. According to anatomy, lower lats, like middle lats, upper lats, don't exist. It's just latissimus dorsi. Okay, and these guys are scientists, and they should have known. The next study is my favorite. The effects of lifting straps on deadlift performance in females. This is not a prank, it's a serious study. Using lifting straps while deadlifting may increase the total number of repetitions performed and barbell velocity and preserve grip strength. However, research in this area has only been conducted on men. Wait a minute, I do realize that there is a difference between different genders, I mean males and females, between different races, right? Anatomically. But in this case, when we talk about grip strength, back strength, and posterior chain strength ratio, how the fuck difference does it make if you are a female, a male, a freaking helicopter? What's the difference? That's so freaking idiotic. And listen, how the adequate and normal a sane person would think. I'm doing deadlifts and I feel like I can't hold the bar. So it means that my full body is stronger than my grip. So I gotta use mixed grip, hook grip, or wearing straps. But this is now how scientists think. They think that you should do study and measure if it matters. Can you imagine it? Can you freaking imagine it? And guess what? They came up with the conclusion that, yeah, wearing straps is indeed helpful if you freaking lack of grip strength. This is why people invented straps. You tell me that science-based lifting not a joke. If studies like this exist, what's the point of the study? If wearing straps increases your grip strength when grip is your limiting factor so you can deadlift more? So this is by far the most ridiculous but also the most accurate study, and you guess what? Jeff Nippard put it into the second group. Like, it's not scientific enough. Wow. But you know what's the most interesting? That there's another study. The effects of lifting straps in maximum strength, number of repetition and muscle activation during lat pull down. So they basically measured the same stuff, but during lat pull downs. And you know what? If you're following the basic logic, you probably can come up with the conclusion that if your grip is a limiting factor, you want to wear straps. But you know what? It turned out that straps don't matter. That can't be real, guys. That can't be real. But what if my back is stronger than my grip? So anyway, straps don't matter. But you know what? This is really interesting because the guys who participate in those studies are whether novice lifters or completely untrained people, and this is the huge problem, because if you pick a novice lifter and force him to do lat pull downs as many reps as possible, or as heavy as possible, he would go to failure and his grip wouldn't be a limiting factor. But if you force to do the same stuff a strong athlete, guess what? There is a high chance that his grip will be a little bit a limiting factor. So guys, talking about these researches, I can't say anything. It's just so hilarious, like wearing straps, like it's like the idea of that we should measure it somehow, you know what I'm saying? Like, why? Like, what's the point? In these studies, they measured if there's a difference in muscle activation when doing squats, depending on a stance width. And first, we see that there is no difference in adductor activation, and the closer stance is even better, which makes me think that this research is balls. Like, it's completely opposite to practice. You tell me that close stance squats hit adductors even more than sumo stance. So again, we see on practice that it works other way around. So probably this research is completely inaccurate and the methods they were using are not accurate. In this study, they tested bench press grip width, and we see that there is no difference. Matter of fact, pecs are working even harder when it's close grip, what I always noticed actually, and the wider the grip is, the more biceps involved. This is what I actually experience, and if you are a good bencher, I mean, I don't name myself a good bencher, I'm just saying that if you are a good bencher, this is what you can relate to. And lots of people who saying ridiculous stuff like your biceps can't work on a bench press and some crap like this. Listen, guys, if you bench a lot, you know that your biceps is working. With this study, I agree 100% because I'm confronting with practice, guys. And you know what? Jeff put this study in the third group. Again, like the most freaking legit study, doesn't matter. Not scientific. So guys, this is the last study we're gonna cover. There are many more, but it's gonna be too much, you know what I'm saying? So, this study, what do we see? Like, American hip thrusts. I mean, is there any difference? I mean, she just adjusted her back a little bit further, right? And you call it American hip thrusts. You know, guys, I do know that there's a difference between American pizza and Italian pizza. Why would you name an exercise like different if you just adjusting your back like a couple of inches further, if you're adjusting your stance a little bit? It's not a different exercise, it's the same freaking exercise. What do you name it? American hip thrusts. It's like, what's up, brother? What are you doing today? Squats. Like American squats or Brazilian squats, Mexican squats. No, Australian squats. Australian squats, these are my favorite. By the way, you know that Arnold's from Australia. Arnold? Are you freaking stupid? How can you mix up those countries? He's not from Australia. He's from California. So the only question that I have because of the study, that should we call this just a band hip thrust or American band hip thrust or barbell band hip thrust? Like, I'm just driven crazy because of the studies, and the video is about to end. So make sure you're subscribed, stay scientific, and I'll see you in the next video.